Welcome. Welcome to the broadcast, the live stream. I'm Angela. If you're new here, welcome. On this channel, we build UIs. We have a good time. We get back to basics with HTML and CSS. Yesterday, we worked on the mobile navigation for the layout that we're building. So just a reminder, here's our Photoshop mockup. It's called Soho. I've had it for years in my collection. And I thought this would be a great way to just practice our HTML and CSS. So yesterday we built this navigation, and here we are, mobile. Works really well. I'm actually really pleased with it. I was originally thinking that I would animate. This is the hamburger menu is an SVG. I was thinking that I would animate this and have it do like an X to open and then click the X to close. I didn't do that. I think I'm just going to keep it exactly the way it is because I really like it. It's like, I think it's super simple, super clean, and it just works. Yeah, and I don't want to overcomplicate it. What I'm not loving is how the navigation looks now. So our spacing is a little bit off, and I know that's because I increased the size of the icons. These were quite a bit smaller, and I increased them so the tap target of the button was 48 by 48, which I haven't looked, but I'm pretty sure the WCAG WCAG 2.0 accessibility guidelines are that a tap target needs to be 48 by 48 pixels. So I'm happy with the size that they are, but it did sort of throw off our header here. The other thing I don't love, if we look at our Photoshop, and I'm just gonna go full screen. Come on. Oh, it really doesn't want to go full screen. All right, Adobe, I can play that game. So you can see here that on the desktop, this is originally on the desktop. I took that out. I'm only going to show that on mobile. And I have an idea of what I'm going to replace this with. I'm thinking maybe just a custom icon or logo. But I haven't gotten around to it yet. Maybe my next weekend I'll have that. But I do just for now want to adjust the spacing. So the navigation is going to continue to be on the far left. And then our search icon will continue to be on the far right until I decide what I'm going to put on the far left. So for now, let's just, I'm pretty sure all we need to do is align our items so they are right here. Instead of flex start, we have just center. Yeah, so if we just do center, I think that'll look fine. Now, the inner wrap class is a global class that I'm putting on all wraps, and I don't want everything to be aligned center. And you can see here, it's also centered the body, which I don't really want. But maybe it doesn't matter. I don't know. See, these are the things that when I'm working, I'm constantly evaluating this type of decision making because I'm not sure what I want to do as I go. I think it's better to use as many global styles as possible, but then sometimes you find that you limit yourself once you get into something kind of specific. So I think I am going to just do a custom align items property for the header inner wrap. And we're already doing that here anyways for padding, so I think that that's fine. So let's find our style.css. Let's get this out of the way. And I'll make this a little bigger so it's easier to see. So our header inner wrap, I'm also going to say align, and I have to change this. It always sets it to post CSS. What are you doing? And we'll just say center. And let's just make this bigger. So now that's centered, I think it looks fine. Today I want to, I'm not sure, I'm still sort of undecided on what I want to do with the search. I'm leaning towards having a drawer that comes out from the right and slides open instead of having, so for our mobile, this drawer is only 300 pixels wide. And I think what I would like to do is have a search drawer that comes out and fills the entire screen and has an input for search, a search button, and then there would be room on that screen for additional links or search terms or something like that. So I think just for now, I want it to be a search drawer that comes open, covers the entire screen, and has that input. I was thinking that maybe I would do a modal. So this is, and I think modals are fine. I think they're a little 2010s, if I'm being honest. I like the idea of just having a drawer that opens all the way up, because then you have so much more room on the screen if you want to put in additional links, or maybe you want to put in a sidebar, or you want to put in commonly searched terms. So that's what I think I'm going to do. So it's going to be really very similar to this. So in order to get that started, and it's not going to be it's going to be something that will work on mobile or desktop. The styles, we're going to write one set of styles that works for mobile or desktop. So I don't see us needing to do anything special, any media queries, anything like that. So I'm going to take myself out here. And let's add a little bit of markup to go with our search icon. So directly beneath, that means that any markup we add related to search, we have to decide now what is the best, what makes the most sense with where that markup lives. So if we have a button right here for the menu icon, and then we have the drawer for the navigation directly next to it, basically inline in the DOM, I think we need to do the same thing. So directly after the button here, let's go ahead and add a div, and I'm going to give this a class of search drawer, and we'll call this a form. It's not going to have an action now, but eventually it would have an action. And then we want to have a label for search, and we'll say search. And I guess, I don't know, I don't love putting inputs inside labels, so I'm not going to. Type search, we'll do a placeholder, search, we'll do an ID, search. So this is what makes it accessible. Label for search, ID search. That's if you're not wrapping your label element around your input, you need that for accessibility. So I think if we have an ID of search, a type of search, a placeholder search, and let's do a name of search. Which also helps. Next, let's do you know what? I really want to check. Let's check MDN HTML5 search inputs accessibility input type search. I want to make sure that we're doing this accessible. Input elements of type search are text fields designed for the user to enter search queries into. These are functionally identical to text. Okay. So here's a basic example. So what I've done in the past is I've done input type submit. Difference between search and text types. Maybe we should do input type submit. So the reason, so what I'm doing is I'm questioning whether or not we need a label for the input type. If you choose to use button elements to create the buttons in your form, keep this in mind. If the button is inside a form, that button will be treated as the submit button. So you should be in the habit of expressly specifying which button is the submit button. Input type submit buttons are used to submit forms. If you want to create a custom button and then customize the behavior using JavaScript, you need to use input type button, or better still, use a submit button. We'll begin by creating a form with a simple submit button. I'm going to ask ChatGPT. Do I need a label for, for input type submit? No, a label is not required for an input element of type submit. Labels are generally used to associate text descriptions with input elements like text fields, checkboxes, or radio buttons. That's what I thought. So I have to tell you, this is one of those things that I've been meaning to look up. So I'm glad that I finally did it. Okay, so input type submit value submit. And we should see this. So now we can see this here. So now we want to take this div and make it into a container that actually covers the page. And the way we're going to do that is almost identical to what we did with the active class. We're going to provide all of the functionality. We're going to provide all of the functionality with as much CSS as possible. Then we'll do that click event. So when we click on the search icon, we're adding an active class and basically animating a right transition. It's going to go from here's left, here's right. It's going to go to the right. So we're just going to animate a right transition. So let's take our header class already has a position of relative. So we're pretty much set up to do this. And where did we do here's all of our navigation, here's our buttons. So let's go right here. So I'm going to say search drawer, position absolute, top 0, right. For now I'm going to say right 0. I'm just going to style everything right on the page. Right 0. We want a width of 100%. And actually we don't want position absolute, we want position fixed, because if we do position absolute, it's absolutely positioned against the header. I have to think about this. Do we want it positioned? I think fixed is better. Let's see how this looks. Maybe absolute is fine. So let's give it a background. White. And then let's actually take our form with a class of form and let's center that on the page. So we'll say, I'm going to say search drawer dot form, and let's give this a, I guess we could give it a width of 75 rems. Let's see here. Do we want to just give it an inner wrap? Maybe we should do that. Div dot inner, that will do the work for us. We need to give this a Z index. There we go. So here is our drawer. Perfect. Here's our inner wrap. Now we can position the inner wrap. We can get this moved down and then we can actually get in here and style the form. So I want the inner wrap, well, the inner wrap is already centered on the x-axis. Now let's get it centered on the y-axis. And the way that I like to do that is, we'll do inner wrap. I'm going to say, I'm going to do position relative because I don't want to take it out of the flow, but I want to be able to do the sort of aggressive positioning that comes with using positioning. We'll say 50%. And let's just make sure that that moved it down the way I wanted it to. Oh, and I forgot to put in the Z index. There we go. So now you can see that this has been pushed down 50%. So the top of this div is at the 50% mark. I want the entire div to be centered, vertically, horizontally at the 50% mark. So the way I'm going to do that is I'm going to say transform translate y minus 50%, and that's going to move it up. So let me see here. You should be able to see it move. You see it now, it's being moved back 50%, negative 50% of the total height of the container. So now as we size our form element and our labels and our inputs, we will actually see the container grow but remain at the 50% horizon line, basically, for lack of a better term. So now let's work on actually styling our search drawer. And let's see, I'm thinking probably just keep it simple. Input type search, width, I'm going to say 85%. I think we're going to want to do nope, this type of nesting doesn't work. Let's take this out. There we go. So I think that I want my search input to be, I want this to be about 80-20. That's how I'm going to approach this. So I want my search input to be 80%. I want my submit button to be 20%. We'll go from there. It might end up being more like 85-15. In fact, that's what I'm going to do, 85-15. We'll see how it looks. So I'm going to say 85%, and then we'll do search drawer input type submit, and my width is going to be 15%. We should probably do Flexbox also. Well, the inner wrap already has all of the Flexbox properties, doesn't it? It makes me think that a class of inner wrap should go on the form element, and maybe we don't need this extra div. That's what that makes me think. And there isn't any reason why the form element can't also be that container. Yeah. And then our label, there we go. Yeah, yeah, that works. I'm honestly not sure how I feel about having that 50% down. I'm kind of thinking yeah, I like that a little better. So now I think I want my input, I don't want to take the appearance completely out of my input. Not what I wanted. Border, I want the border to be a little softer. Well, let's see here. 1 pixel, solid. And let's give this some padding. Maybe, well, we should probably use, I'm going to do 2 rems, which is what, 32 pixels? Yeah. That is a nice search. I like it. And it's got a nice soft border, and we'll give it a little border radius. Maybe just 10 pixels. No, that's too much. 5. Yeah, I think that looks good. And I think that I'm going to take out this label. I don't think we need that. So let's just put in a class of access hidden. I'm going to take this out. And I'm wondering if we should give our background, instead of being all white, let's just make it slightly gray, just for a tiny bit of, oh, I don't know how, I don't like that. No, that's a hard pass. Maybe we could make our input I don't know if I like that either. We're just going to leave everything white. Okay, let's work on our button. So our input type submit. So we'll give it the same padding. Appearance none. We'll give it a border of 1 pixel, solid. I don't know. Oh, do we have an, I think we have, I mean, what's our official accent color for this site? I kind of like the goldenrod. Yeah, I do. So let's make the border, let's also make the background color goldenrod. And then we'll make the, well, the color, we should probably keep the color as, let's also give this a cursor. And if we make the color white, I don't know if that's, I don't remember if that's going to be accessible. Let's look. And then we'll give that a little bit of hover too. No contrast information available. Didn't we check white contrast against let's see here. So what is the actual hex value of this? fails. Okay. That passes, so we'll go ahead and put the gray back in. That's fine. Because that is important. And I really do like the yellow color. We could also make the border. If we change our border to 2 pixels, and maybe our border could be I don't like that. I like the thicker border. I don't love the we'll stick with this. And then let's make the text transform uppercase, and let's give it a little bit of letter spacing. Yeah, that works. Oh, and let's give it a border radius of 5 pixels. I like it. That works. And we need to, I think we need to actually give this. So I set this as VH vertical height, which means it takes up the height of the screen, but maybe it should just be 100%. I don't think that's going to work. Yeah, we want this to be so if we say 100%, that's 100% of the header. It's only going to be 100% of the header. So if we change this to, this is what I was wondering before, if we change this to fixed, it's probably a better approach. Yeah, do you see that? Yeah, so that's going to be a better way to go. And then I think we want, oh, let's get in here and update this. So we want this to be fixed, and we want this to be 100%. Yeah. And this is also, not quite as responsive as I hoped. I mean, I think it's good to make sure that your styles hold up at least at a 300 pixel screen width. So probably, where does this start to break down? I mean, it starts to break down. We could put this in, we could definitely do some mobile styles here starting at 960. So, okay, we'll do it. Let's do it. So here's our input, search. Okay, so let's just do add media. Let's do search drawer. We're just going to do search drawer input, and that should cover both, and then we'll change the width to 100%. And really, I think this width should probably actually be flex 0, 0, and flex 0, 0. I mean, has it been this long since I've... Oh, it's just not specific enough. Okay. How can we make this a little more specific? There we go. And then let's make our padding, let's change our padding to 1 rem so it's just not so beefy. Yeah. And I think our margin, let's try 0.5. Yeah, I like that. And let's give this some hover, our button. So here's our submit. So on our parent, we'll say transition. We want the transition to be the background color. I usually do 300 milliseconds ease in, out. And then we'll say search drawer, input, type equals submit. We want this to be active. And we want this to be hover. That's what I usually do. I used to include the focus state. So here's why I don't anymore, because here's what the browser does organically. I don't like changing the default browser behavior of the focus state, or I suppose in this case it would really be controlled by normalize. I think normalize has focus controls in here, and I just leave whatever the browser reset is or whatever the browser behavior is for focus, because it's an accessibility issue, and I just style whatever's happening with this active and hover property. So background color, white. So now when we hover, there. And I'm kind of feeling like there should be a little bit of space in there. So let's do, and I think by default our inner wrap class has space between. It does. So if we make it a little smaller than 85 and 15, it will automatically pull it out to the edge. So what if we just did 84 and 14? That should give us about 2% in the middle to pull it out. And it doesn't even need to be that much. So Let's do 14.5 and 84.5. There, I like that. Just gives it a little bit of breathing room. And then there we go. Yeah, I like that. That looks nice. Super simple. And there's lots of room now on this page. So if you wanted to put in a sidebar, or you wanted to put in common search terms with the queries built into the URLs, you could do that here. So now let's make this, we want all of this to be what appears when you have an active class. So we're going to do exactly what we did yesterday with the navigation. So we're going to move this around a little bit. Well, let's look at our navigation and remind ourselves what we did. So we need to make sure that when we have an active class, it goes onto the button, so the button knows if it's clicked or not, and we need an active class on the div search drawer itself. So we need both of those things. And all of the styles go onto the drawer, so they can exist on the drawer whether the drawer is active or not. The active class is literally just the left. Well, in the case of the navigation, it's the left property. So if we know that our search drawer has a width of 100%, so here is, yeah, this is, hopefully we can just do, I think we can just do this. So search drawer dot active. We might need to use a different class. Let's use a different class. We'll say open. Right 0. But if it's not open, it's, I don't know if that's going to work. I have no idea. Let's see. Let's check it out. Let's try it. So we should be able to put open. Yeah, that works. That works. Okay, so now let's animate that. So we'll say transition right 300 milliseconds. Ease, I usually do ease in out, one of the eases, that's what I usually do. There we go. I love it. So now I think we need to make sure that our icon button, I'm going to have to take the same approach with the icon button. I know that it would be nice to have a button that goes from like the icon to maybe like an X, but I'm going to keep it just as an icon that is always on top, that you click the icon to open, you click the icon to close. I think that's a simple, smart, straightforward way to go. So let's get our icon transitioning. I mean, we could probably use just about the same styles. I mean, this makes me feel like this makes me think that we could use all of the same styles that we did for the navigation. I don't think it would matter at all if we had In fact, it just kind of makes sense because the click event is only going to add it to the thing that you click. So I just don't think it will matter. And we could reuse so many of the styles. Wait, that's not it. Yeah, it makes no difference. It makes no difference. So that is what I'm going to do. Where are you, icon? So instead of specifying, I just don't think we need to specify menu. Well, I do need to specify menu or search because I'm going to need that for the click event. But I think in the CSS, that does not need to be specified because it's either going to be, the thing that's clicked is the thing that is going to have the class. So it doesn't matter what the styles are. It won't get the styles unless it has the class. So let's change menu to icon. And if I'm wrong, then we'll change it back. But I don't think it's going to matter. And I already screwed something up, so let's see what's going on here. Yeah, I already screwed it up because we're not showing the other icon. So let's go back and we'll stick with the search. Yeah, because our menu button only appears, our menu icon only appears on mobile, not on desktop. So even though a lot of these styles can be reused. I don't want to reuse this because it's specific to menu. This is for both. I think we can reuse this. And I think, I'm not sure about this one. No, I think we can reuse this one too. I think this is the one that we can't mess with. So here's our drawer. It's here. We just need to make sure that it's got, I think it was a stroke. So the button icon active is what needs. I think maybe we just need to give this. Here we go. Okay. All right, let's just get our JavaScript in here. We'll figure this out next. So next we're gonna do basically the same thing. We'll say function search open. I mean, this is the way it goes sometimes, right? Things aren't working. I don't know why. Sometimes the browser just doesn't behave. Actually, I feel like I'm encountering a lot of things that I don't normally encounter when I'm writing Sass. I think some of my issues have to do with the fact that I'm writing vanilla JavaScript, or excuse me, vanilla CSS. So again, another reason why I wanted to do this, because I think it's always good when you bring yourself back to basics, but also to reacquaint myself with how the browser actually works, handling vanilla CSS. Sometimes things are just weird. All right. So we'll do const icon equals document, query selector, and this will be search. We'll do const drawer equals document, query selector, and what do we call it? Search drawer. So we'll say icon add event listener, click, and first we're going to check to see if our target actually has the class. So we'll just say clicked. If it's clicked, we want to remove it. Honestly, we could probably just add this to our click menu function. It's probably a better way to go. Well, actually no, it isn't, because then it's going to add it to the menu drawer, so I do want to keep these separate. So if our icon and our drawer are clicked, we want to remove those classes. If they're not clicked, then we want to add them. Oh, and we have to actually So our buttons here, it's just not changing color on active. Button, icon, active. Why aren't you changing color? So, oh, maybe because fill, stroke. Here we have to take the so I think we just took the stroke out here. Get out here as well. There we go. Let's give that a cursor. So we didn't have to redo our search, anything for the search. Good. So here's button menu pointer. Let's put this pointer on. Let's just go ahead and put it here. And that should work for both. Yeah. I like it. Okay, cool. I was thinking, I didn't have too much more that I actually wanted to try and do today, but I was thinking that I want to take out, so instead of hello, I'm just going to put my name, and I'm going to take out this H1. I'm just actually going to take now. And I'm going to change this to an H1. And I think the next thing on my list for next weekend are, I'm going to make an icon for the upper left corner. I was thinking about creating and styling sub-navigation, like drop-down sub-navigation, and we could definitely still do that. I think we probably should. I mean, it's not terribly difficult, and you can do all of that with CSS, and that's a good exercise too. I haven't done that in a while. And then I think we should think about grabbing the Instagram API and adding an Instagram feed to the bottom of the page. We also need to go ahead and do some mobile styles. Yeah, I think that's what we'll work on next week. We'll work on some mobile styles, and we'll work on adding drop downs, hover drop downs to the navigation. Those two things. Yeah, this worked really well. I'm really pleased with this. I like that a lot. I think it's simple, it's clean, there's lots of room here. If you Ooh, is that moving around? That is moving around. We should probably, you know what we could do? We could, I think, to stop the scroll on the background, we could do an overflow hidden or pointer events none. Boy, where did I see that? So I think our search drawer, if our search drawer is active, if the search drawer is active, do we say pointer events none? Does that, am I remembering that correctly? Pointer events none. Whoops. No, that's not what that means. Yeah, that just makes our search. Boy, I'm trying to remember where I saw that. Where you, if you have something is activated, so if our search drawer has an active class, how do we make the background pointer events none? You would really be making the body pointer events none. Let's see. Let's Google it real quick and see what we find. CSS modal background still scrolls. Yeah, the CSS only body overflow hidden solution. So maybe that means that when we have an active search drawer, we also want to put active on. I wouldn't want to do it for the menu, but maybe for the search. So we could do const body equals document query selector body. So maybe we also put an active on the body. What did I just do? IntelliSense, stop. Then if we know we have a body class that is active, we could say body.active overflow on the y-axis is hidden. So that should stop it from scrolling. Let's try it and see. Okay, so now we have everything's active. Yep, and nothing scrolls. So now if we take it off, There we go. Now we can scroll again. Yep, that works. I like that. Good. All right. Let's get this committed and up to GitHub. And again, this is all up on GitHub, so if you want to fork this or grab it for yourself, you're absolutely welcome to. It's under the name Soho Layout. Thank you for joining me. Thank you for tuning in and watching. I love doing this. I was thinking after the stream yesterday that like my original idea for this was that you get to see a real developer working and solving problems and figuring things out in real time. I love the content on YouTube, but I also sometimes think like the videos are so polished and well put together. I think, gosh, that's like not real life to not sort of stumble through some things, even when it's something you've done 100 times and suddenly you can't remember exactly what it is that you're supposed to do, which is why we have a GitHub and why we have a little snippets folder or a little library of notes that we keep. And I found myself yesterday thinking like, oh, I get now why they do these highly edited videos, because I just feel so stupid when I'm typing something out that I've done a million times that suddenly doesn't work the way I expected it to, or suddenly I just can't remember even what the correct property is or what the event is or something like that. So thank you for hanging in there and sticking with it and letting me feel a bit stupid sometimes. And I'm going to keep doing this because I love HTML and CSS. I love building UIs. I love the instant satisfaction of seeing my work in the browser. I get so much joy out of doing this, and I know from experience that new developers want to be good at this type of thing, and I don't see as much emphasis on it as I think there should be. So that's why I'm doing it. So until next time, until next weekend, we'll come back and finish this layout, and I hope you have a great one wherever you are, whatever you're doing, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.